it just swept me away, and I realised that I started using alcohol for a lot of things very quickly, to have confidence, to talk to people, but I noticed that I didn't drink like everyone else.
It's like they're not themselves anymore.
Yeah.
And you lose them in the eyes. I can see it in their eyes, you lose them.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience things like that?
It's going to be terrifying, but that discomfort that you will feel is signs that you are like making steps towards more confidence.
I joke with myself and I'm like, I don't need the self-induced anxiety. I've already got the anxiety sitting here anyway.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people that maybe get sober, they are known as like the party one in the group, or the fun one, or the one that, keeps the night going. And it was such an integral part of who I was that I then had to be like, oh my God, like, who am I now? Getting sober was me getting back up.
So Millie, when you hear the phrase, I got back up, what does it make you think and feel?
Yeah, I think for me personally, like, I feel like I got back up from a really like dark place with alcohol. For me, like, getting sober was me getting back up. So I think that's probably the first thing I associate it with. Yeah. And I think it feels like, yeah, I think it's such a like positive thing, because it is that cliche thing of, it doesn't matter how many times you like fall down, it's how you get back up again. So I think like that's the triumphant thing in life, is not like perfectionism or all of those things. I think it's just, yeah, how much you get back up, and how you keep going throughout everything.
Yeah, I say that it's, you fall 7 times, you get back up 8. And it is a thing where it's, so many things do happen in life. It's just how life works. And it is a case of, having the punches thrown at you, but keeping going, essentially.
Sure.
And then what I want to do then is I want you to take us back to the beginning of your journey and start from there.
Yeah, so I would say my journey kind of began probably when I was like in my late teens, and I sort of started struggling a little bit with my mental health, but not drastically. And then when I was 18, I went to uni, and that became a lot more noticeable. And at the same time, I started really drinking heavily. So I got a job in a Vodka Revolutions. I got another job in a bar that exclusively did shots and Jaeger bombs, and got very indoctrinated into this like nightlife, student binge drinking culture super quickly. And it just swept me away. And I realised that I started using alcohol for a lot of things very quickly, to have confidence, to talk to people, but I noticed that I didn't drink like everyone else, and I would, put myself in stupid situations and wake up next day and felt different to everyone around me. And slowly but surely, I found myself in this cycle of drinking for my mental health, and my mental health was on the floor because of it as well. And so, yeah, that was the kind of the cliff notes of the story almost. And then when I was 26, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't live like that. And if I did carry on living like that, it was going to be quite a dark life. And decided to get sober. Have not looked back since. So that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, I actually, when you said that, I did the math in my head really quickly.
Well done.
And I think it's interesting because obviously you said about going to university, and it's a completely new lease of life for a lot of people when they go. And the drinking culture there is very different. And I guess it really does introduce people into it, into a variety of different ways. But, a key point you mentioned about is how, using alcohol for confidence, or even just to feel different, even for your own emotions. And I think sometimes we don't even realize that we're using it and how we're using it until maybe the next day or afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's so normalized in our culture, society, whatever you want to call it. And it's in everything we do, celebration, commiseration. So I think sometimes it can get inside parts of your life without you even realizing the impact that it is having. And like, I kind of drew some of the dots of like, oh, well, if I go out and I absolutely binge drink to oblivion the next day, I'm not going to feel great. But I don't think I realized maybe the effect it was having in those like in between times when maybe, my brain hadn't quite settled yet, or how I was using it for every single uncomfortable emotion that I wasn't actually ever sitting there and feeling what I was feeling. So I think for some of us, it kind of just creeps in. And also at the same time, we really like celebrate it. And, there's so much peer pressure around and things like that, that I think it's really hard for people to actually pull away and look at it objectively and go, okay, is this thing really actually serving me, or might it actually be causing problems in my life? And I think that's also exacerbated by these ideas we have of like what to even like have a problem with alcohol means, because we're like, oh, I'm not that bad, or like, I'm fine, I'm not an alcoholic is the term that like people use. And so I think a lot of us don't look at our relationship with alcohol because it doesn't look like this representation of terrible drinking problems that we've sort of come to know.
Peer pressure is a real thing. 'Cause
Oh,
I know
100%.
I've been there before where I do not want to have another drink and someone goes, oh, come on,
Yeah.
have another
Just
one.
have one.
Just
Go
have one
on.
more.
Yeah.
And I, don't get me wrong. I remember a moment when it was a point where I knew I didn't want any more that evening. And somebody handed me a shot and was like, ready? And I just thought, I actually can't say no at this point. So what did I do? Put it over my shoulder.
Yeah, that in the plant pot, there's many.
I was like, cheers. Oh, round the back it goes.
Yeah. I always still get given them, like if you go to a restaurant sometimes and they'll like, give everyone limoncello, and I literally will just slide it to one of my friends. So I'm like, I don't want to make a big deal and be like, oh no, thank you, not for me. I'm like, one of you can like take it. So
what do you think that is? Because that's a real thing, even in restaurants, and obviously it's a novelty that they do it. But when you are sat there and someone is like, here, have a drink, and you kind of said it in a way that there is a way where you sort of feel embarrassed to say no. Why is that, do you think?
I think because it's so normalized, but I think also there's almost like a psychology of celebration within it as well. And I got this real sense when I stopped drinking that like people thought that me saying no to not drinking was like me saying no to their celebration, whatever that might be. Like if it was a friend's birthday or something and I said I'm not drinking, they'd be like, but it's my birthday. I'm like, yeah, and I'll be there and I'll have fun and I'll celebrate you, but I'm not drinking. I think we tie it so much in like celebration, and also because it just isn't the norm. So I think anything that isn't the norm can feel a little bit awkward or embarrassing, and you have to give a reason a lot of the time. Like there's this well-known saying of like alcohol is the only drug that you have to justify like not taking. Even like something like, say I offered you a cigarette and I said, oh, do you want a cigarette? And you were like, no, I'm okay, thank you. I wouldn't go, why? It's obvious. Like I know why you've probably said, and you're probably not a smoker, but with alcohol there always has to be like a reason of like, oh, why aren't you drinking? So I think there's that like awkwardness and embarrassment of like, oh, I'm gonna have to explain, even if you're just someone that's not drinking for that night, oh, they're gonna accuse me of being pregnant, and they're gonna say, oh, like, are you boring, why are you not drinking? You're gonna have to go into that thing. So yeah, I think there's so many elements to it of why it just feels like really uncomfortable.
You're so right. There are so many times when it's like, I'll come, but I'm not drinking tonight. Well, okay. But even the fact that you have to say that, and then someone goes, well, why aren't you drinking tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not.
I'm just not. Just tonight.
I'm just not. I'm just not. But alcohol, we talk about how a lot of people use it to escape emotions, but the side effects of it. And I know I've done it in the past, have a drink because you don't feel great. But I've also been in times where I know it's actually going to make me feel even worse. And I'm at a point where I am, really upset about something or feeling a certain way. And I joke with myself and I'm like, I don't need the self-induced anxiety. And I've already got the anxiety sitting here anyway.
Yeah.
So that's something I've obviously learned too. But anxiety in the next day, it's a real thing.
Yeah. So there's many kind of like layers to anxiety. So one is the kind of like chemical rebound element almost. So when you drink, like alcohol stimulates a neurotransmitter called GABA, which is the thing that makes you really chilled, and like it basically depresses your central nervous system, alcohol, because of a lot of the effect that it has on GABA. So then, first of all, you're very chilled, but after a while, that's why you get like sluggish speech. That's why your limbs stop working properly, and it can actually get to the point where it's so dangerous that it depresses like your central nervous system to the point of like affecting your breathing or your heart rate, and that's when we can get like alcohol poisoning. At the same time, it can suppress the release of a neurotransmitter called glutamate, which is like our go, go, go neurotransmitter. So again, it's like this double calming effect. Your brain loves balance, and so the next day when the alcohol starts to leave your body, your brain goes, this doesn't feel right, I need to like course correct, like readdress this balance. So you'll then get like a kind of enhancement of glutamate and a suppression of GABA, so you'll get this like anxiety feeling essentially, and you won't have like the chill feeling. So you've got the chemical side of it, then you've got like the sleep side of it. I think for a lot of people don't realize how much sleep plays a role in this. So alcohol disorganizes and fragments your sleep if you drink quite a lot of it and close to your bedtime as well. So like I know this even from just doing sober nights out, that the next day if I've like had a rubbish night's sleep, I feel gross. So that's a part of it as well, is the sleep element. And then you have this blackout element. So if you don't maybe remember what you did or said, you've got these huge blank spaces that you might try and fill in and slightly spiral with as well. And there's lots of other elements to it as well, like things like dopamine and serotonin, but they're sort of like your key drivers really of anxiety. Like it's a real thing. It's not just in your head, which a lot of people are like, oh, anxiety is just all in your head. You're like, oh.
Yeah, I think growing up, people would say it was in your head, but I guess the older I've got, I've learned, the general science behind it. And you mentioned blackouts because that's a really interesting topic. Why does that happen?
Yeah, so blackouts happen because the process of encoding short-term memories into your long-term memories really requires glutamate, and obviously alcohol suppresses glutamate. So that process is impaired and your short-term memories don't get put into your long-term memories. So there's kind of two types of blackouts. So you've got fragmentary, which is like, oh, I remember talking to you, but I don't remember what we talked about. So like little bits. And then there'll be on block, which is like quite large chunks where you just don't remember anything. So the easiest way I liken it to is if you had a phone and you recorded like this, but you actually hadn't pressed the record button. So you're taking that information in, but it's not being stored anywhere. So that is the reason, really. It's just a lot of those memories are never actually stored. So I spent a lot of time when I was hungover being like, what happened? Just try and remember. And little bits might come back, but there were some things that I just couldn't access in my brain. And that's because they never got stored. So try as I might, I will never be able to get them back because my brain didn't store those memories. It's just actually quite terrifying when you think about it. Even though we really laugh about blackouts, you're like, that's actually a bit worrying.
I was about to say, it must have been quite scary sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think my brain is a brain that runs easily with things. And when I was drinking, I would get quite like OCD, like rumination thoughts on a hangover. So because I didn't know what happened in those spaces, I would try and invent what might have happened in those spaces of like, oh my God, maybe I said this to so-and-so, or maybe I went off on a solo mission and maybe I was like doing God knows what. And I think that was a really scary thing to like run away with. And it was really hard to like get a grip on your brain in those moments. So those are like, that was quite terrifying for me, I think. And I'd laugh about blackouts, but the next day I was like, this is actually horrific.
I can't say I've had many, but when I was younger, I have had one or two. And when I look back, even to this point, like I remember leaving a nightclub and then I remember arriving to the next.
Yeah.
I don't remember to this day the walk in between.
Yeah.
And it was in central London.
Yeah.
I do not remember the walk in between.
Yeah.
And that actually terrifies me because I, to this day, don't know what happened, how I got there. I don't even know where the next nightclub was. I just remember leaving one and suddenly being at the entrance of the next.
And that was my life. Like there were so many nights that I don't remember. I don't remember how I got home. I don't remember this. My friends would tell me things and I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I had no memory of it whatsoever. I'm like, how can I not remember this actual thing? And they'd be like, yeah, you were talking about so-and-so and you said it. And I'm like, what? Like, it's quite scary that you can be like acting completely normally when you're that, because that's the other thing as well. You can be acting completely normally in a blackout. People might have no idea that you're like in a blackout, but it's just because of how it affects your memory and not necessarily about how drunk you are.
Would you ever, because I have seen this with people I know, would you ever switch in a way where I know people where they genuinely switch? There is a moment I can see when it's like they're not themselves anymore.
Yeah.
And you lose them in the eyes. I can see it in their eyes, you lose them.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience things like that?
I was told yes. So like a lot of my friends would say it was really weird because one moment you would be absolutely fine and sober, and then the next minute it would be like, what the fuck happened to you? Like it would just go from one to the other. So yeah, I've definitely heard that from what people have told me. I couldn't vouch for it, but yeah, that is what they've said.
It's scary, isn't it, to think that just a drink,
Yeah.
alcohol can do that to people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like that is the thing I always say. I'm not trying to make everyone go sober, and it's not about that. It's never been about that. But I want people to have the understanding of what actually happens when you drink, because I think if people really knew what exactly was happening to their brain, they might reconsider maybe how much they're drinking or how quickly they're drinking, just to avoid those kind of like scarier situations.
No, and I respect that completely, because I think, I mentioned the example before, and yeah, when I got into a bad space at one point, I didn't drink for, I'm not saying I drink a lot, but I didn't drink for a big period of time because I knew where I was mentally, and I knew the alcohol wasn't going to help me.
Yeah.
And some people would say, oh, have a drink, but no, because I knew it wasn't going to help me.
And that's so incredible to have like that self-awareness, because I think so many of us, to be fair, I think a lot of us maybe have the self-awareness but just don't act on it for all the reasons of like, it feels too hard to say no, there's too much peer pressure, we're struggling too much, and that's the only thing we can think of, and there's no other outside support or help or anything like that, I think, for many reasons. But then I also think some people just don't have the self-awareness because they just don't stop to actually think about those things. We just are sold this thing that like, yeah, alcohol will help you, like that's great, and we go yay, like, and we don't really stop and think about it.
And then what was the moment for you then when you decided you wanted to go sober?
Yeah, I had a night out with my friends, and I woke up next day, couldn't remember anything really. They told me about some embarrassing things that I did. I had a text from someone that said, oh, it was really nice to meet you last night, but you were very drunk. Could not have picked this person out of a lineup. Don't remember speaking to them, looked at the picture, was like, never seen you in my entire life. And it wasn't definitely the worst hangover. I didn't do anything that I was like, oh my God, that's absolutely horrific. But I think almost in a way that was good, because there had been other hangovers where I'd done things that were like really terrifying or really out of character. And because I was so ashamed of those, I would just literally keep drinking. So like the next week I'd be like, right, well, I want to block out that thought, so I'm going to just drink. Whereas this one, I just think I had a bit more of that self-awareness of like, yeah, I just can't keep living like this. Like it's just ridiculous, and it's not going to end well. So yeah, that was the last time I drank. But it's so weird because it wasn't the worst one, but I just, that day, I think I just knew, like something told me.
It was a cherry on the top.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's sometimes that's what happens in life. It's the build up behind, and then it's that one moment that you're like, actually, you know, it's not the biggest moment, but it's the one where I decide I want to change or I want to stop.
Yeah, definitely.
And then what was your journey from that?
Yeah, so I stopped drinking, and it's really weird. I was asked this question earlier and about whether I thought it was going to be a forever thing. Like, it's really hard to actually even remember because it feels like so long ago now. But I think I just felt like I needed a hard stop. Like, I don't know if I remember thinking it was going to be forever, but I also don't think I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to do it for a week. Like, I think I was like, something needs to change. So stopped drinking, like loved it straight away because I felt a million times better not spending every weekend just absolutely hanging out my arse. And then after a while started struggling again mentally, because I think I realised that there was so much that I had to deal with, things that I was drinking for, and learning about like my own brain and stuff. So I really struggled with panic attacks for a little while, and then like went into therapy and found it so helpful and like learned so much about myself, and that was really great. And then I thought, you know what, I've kind of like white knuckled this without much support in terms of the like drinking stuff. Like I didn't do AA, I didn't do any of that. And then I thought, I want to meet other girls. I didn't know a single other sober person. And I was like, it would be really cool if maybe 10 of us could go for mocktails and say like, oh God, isn't sober dating a bin fire? Like, and maybe we'd just meet up. And so I started Sober Girl Society and never had the expectation that it would like be what it is today. So it's now the largest community for sober and sober curious women. We do meetups up and down the country, everything from like boozless brunches to burlesque classes. And yeah, I love it so much. And now I've met like thousands and thousands of women. It's just been incredible because I think when I got sober, I just thought I was like a bit of a freak, and like oh God, I can't handle drinking. It's a me problem. And I just felt really quite alone with it. And then thought that my story was really unique because I'd never, like, none of my friends really suffered with blackouts or anxiety or anything like that. And then met all these women and was like, oh, my story is actually a very, like, not unique at all, because I met so many people that were exactly like me. And that was just like so refreshing. So I always say I started Sobriety from quite a selfish part because it was what I needed. And that's, now it's sort of like really changed if it's more about other people than it is me. But at the time I was like, I just want to talk to some other people and hear about their experiences.
Well, your story's valid, and I don't think it's selfish because it's you and it's what you've been through, and it's, you started it for yourself in that ways, but finding other people to support other people and then go on the journey together.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
No, of course. And you said burlesque, and I thought to myself, I've always wanted to try burlesque
Oh my
dancing.
God, you have to come. It's such a it's not very trivial, but there's loads of problems that people struggle with when it comes to like not drinking that really stand in people's way. So like one of the things the girls would say is like, I struggle to like feel sexy when I haven't had a drink. Like I'm going on dates and like I feel awkward and I don't know how to loosen up, or like I'm going on a dance floor and I don't feel confident. And I was on a hen party with one of my best friends from home, and one of her best friends from uni that I'd never met was there. And we were just sitting by the pool and we were chatting. And I said, oh, what do you do? And she said, oh, I'm a paralegal by day. And she said, oh, and by night I'm a burlesque performer. And I was like, shut up, that's so fun. And she was like, yeah, I do like workshops and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, this is perfect. I was like, would you come and do a workshop for us for Sober Girl Society? And she was like, oh my God, I'd love to. And so she like came, we did the first class, and the girls loved it. Everyone came in terrified, like literally so scared. By the end they were like strutting out, like everyone had to bring underwear that we put over our clothes. People were like whipping it off and like, oh my God, it was just so nice to see people, like literally you could see their confidence growing in real time. And so we kept it up as like a regular thing, so we do it quite a lot. And like the feedback is always so great.
Yeah, I'm sure it's amazing. It always looks fun. So.
Yeah.
And I guess that's an important thing as well, is again, people use alcohol for so many different things, especially confidence. What would you say to somebody then that obviously if, they were sober or looking to be sober and they did use it for their confidence levels?
I would say confidence for me is like a skill. I don't believe that confidence is necessarily something you're like born with. I think it comes with practice. And I think I know that firsthand as well, because when I stopped drinking, I wasn't very confident and I would hate social situations. And the more I did them, the more I was like, okay, that wasn't that bad. That wasn't that scary. Like, it's fine. I would do them again and again and again. And now I'm like, yeah, I could pretty much do like any social situation sober because I've built it. So I think it is really hard and it is going to be terrifying. But that discomfort that you will feel is signs that you are like making steps towards more confidence. I genuinely think anyone can be confident. So I would say like you can start little. Like I wouldn't necessarily like throw yourself into doing like, I don't know, a 2-day sober festival first of all. But I would like, I don't know, maybe do like a little brunch with your friends where you don't drink and go with people you feel confident with. But even, take outside support. There's so many incredible books and podcasts, and, go to a confidence seminar. I think you can build it up that way. But I think just know that anyone can be. It's just a skill and it takes practice, and it's quite annoying because you just want to wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I'm so confident. But I think it's just like throwing yourself into the fire and like learning from it.
And you know what, also just knowing that not every day, even if you are on that journey and you're getting there, not every day you're going to wake up and feel confident or 100% of yourself anyway. It's just how life works.
Yeah, definitely. There's situations that I'm like, I feel so confident in this, and then others are like, I'm a bit out of my depth, and that's that, like you said, that's life. So yeah, I think everyone struggles with their confidence at some point or another.
And as women, especially the older I'm getting, I'm learning so much more about like hormones and how they work and how they really do affect us, like monthly, weekly,
daily.
You sometimes look in the mirror and you're like, like it was different yesterday. Check a little like calendar. Oh, okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then obviously you mentioned books, and you have a brand new book coming out soon, all about anxiety. How's that for you?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's been such a like great process. Like I've loved it. It's been a bit different. So the first book I wrote came out in 2021, and that was a very like personal kind of memoir, kind of self-help of like this is my story of getting sober, and like, here's how you do a sober festival, here's how you do a sober wedding. This one has been like kind of way more academic. I've sat in with like neuroscientists, neuropsychopharmacologists, anyone with an ist who was willing to speak to me. And I've been on like loads of calls and nodded at all the big words I don't understand, and then gone away and had to like learn what that is, and reading so many academic papers and putting that all into something that I think is really accessible for everyone to learn. So yeah, I've loved the process, but it's been so different to anything I've ever done.
Really? How so?
Just, I think it's not really been about my story. So I've not just spouted things from personal things. I've backed it up with every expert I can find. And I've also interviewed loads of different people for it as well, with experiences that don't look like mine. So the book is so much about alcohol and how it interacts with mental health, and anxiety is kind of a bit of a catch-all term for this like cycle that we find ourselves in. But I've covered everything from like BPD, OCD, PTSD, PMDD, like things that I don't necessarily struggle with, and hearing other people's experiences of that has also been really interesting. And it's so interesting because they're all such different experiences, but the theme is always the same, of people are using alcohol to cope with whatever it may be, whether that is symptoms of ADHD, menopause, PMDD. And then it's slowly but surely making a lot of those things worse. And then people are either needing to get extra support for their mental health or alcohol issues or whatever that may be. And that, you know, the support for whatever condition they're going through is not really out there, and people are having to turn to alcohol as a result. So yeah, the conditions definitely had unique things, but across the board that was kind of like the theme, really. And that when people either like reined back their drinking or stopped drinking, they could finally engage properly in therapy, take their medication effectively, and, you know, really interrogate their symptoms and what it is they were going through. Because also a lot of people didn't realize that they had those conditions because they were just confusing the symptoms with like drinking consequences. I mean, like, oh, I feel like this all the time. And so yeah, that it was so interesting to like speak to so many different people about their experiences.
Finding the science behind things, I absolutely love. With everything with my knees, when I sat down with my surgeons, I went in with like 100 different questions. I find science fascinating, especially the body.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So when you do learn more about something, for me, obviously, I can't speak on behalf of everyone. I think it does also help your brain as well, because you see the reasons behind it. You actually understand a lot more rather than just being told something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a super like logical person, and I want to know the why to everything. I'm like, but why? But why? So that was quite fun on like calls, because as well, like the psychiatrist would say something and I'd be like, but why? And they'd be like, well, we don't really know. And I'd be like, why don't we know? And they'd be like, there's not enough research. And I'd be like, oh my God, like there's so much still to be done as well. Like so much. There is a lot of alcohol research out there, but how alcohol interacts with a lot of other things, the research a lot of the times is just not there. So I did a whole chapter on like alcohol neurodivergence. And like, because neurodivergence research is changing so rapidly, there's not that much on alcohol neurodivergence. So I had to rely a lot on the time of people's lived experiences or psychiatrists, what they'd seen in clinic. And that was really interesting as well, to know that there's still so much to be done and still so much research to be explored.
And you mentioned before actually about how when you stopped drinking, I guess, you know, you were faced with your mind and your mental health. Do you think that is something that scares people into going sober? The fact that they may know that they have to deal with some stuff that they probably don't really want to deal with?
I think it holds a lot of people back for sure, because I think a lot of people don't want to untangle that, and it's a really scary process. And if you've relied on alcohol so much, that if the thing that you're using to cope is taken away, you're like, well, what is the thing I use? So I think it's so scary for people, and especially in like the society we live in, where mental health support is not necessarily as like robust as we need it. Same with like neurodevelopmental services. People don't want to take away alcohol and then wait in line with their GP to, you know, talk about their mental health. It's so difficult. So I think so many people are just like, no, do you know what the easiest thing is? To just carry on as I am. So I think it definitely is hard. And I think even people maybe that stop drinking for a couple of months and then are having to face themselves are like, well, this is too much. I'm gonna have to go back. And whether that's like, something temporary that throws them off or a big thing that they're having to face, it definitely, I think, holds so many people back for sure.
How was facing yourself?
Terrifying, I think. It's yeah, terrifying, but also like illuminating is probably the word, of just like, oh, my brain is like that. So like one of the biggest things I explored in the book is like I got an autism and an ADHD diagnosis, and it made so much sense to me. And I don't think it's ever something that I would have picked up about myself or come across if I hadn't have stopped drinking. And I think there's a common thing for so many people is they stop drinking and they learn about themselves. But you have to like dig into all the reasons that you're drinking and then slowly one by one like pick them off and be like, okay, I need to tackle that thing, and oh, that's a thing as well. So, and I think like that is a constant process still. Like 8.5 years on, I still find things to talk about of reasons why I drank, because I'll just have a thought one day and I'll be like, oh god, yeah, that makes sense, that was a thing. So yeah, I think it's a never-ending journey.
Well, I always say that as well. I think that life, you continue to learn, you continue to grow, you continue to heal as well. And it, something I love the most is new level, new devil. And every time you do level up, you
Absolutely.
sometimes are faced with something new.
Yeah, I've actually never heard that saying, but that is very true.
But you're kind of, and I'm not saying they're always bad things that you're faced with, but I think when you level up in life, every step you take, you're in a different place to then conquer something or to hold on to something, accept something, learn, work through something.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's kind of, I guess, also when you look at the theme of I got back up, that's what it is as well. It's the constant trying and moving and going and continuously, getting back up in life.
Yeah.
And then your book, where can everyone find it?
Oh, wherever you books, Amazon, Waterstones, all of them. Yeah. Just anywhere.
How does it feel to write a book?
Great. Like I love it. So my background is writing, and I love the process of it. I'm also a bit of a like hermit a lot of the time. Like my dream is just sitting at home with my laptop writing. Like I love that. I wouldn't want to do anything else. So it's just now finding new topics to write about. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
New ideas and new inspiration.
Yeah. I just love it.
And Sober Girl Society is amazing. How do you look at it from your eyes?
I never really step back and look at it, which is really interesting. But like the people I've met along the way, every now and again, like I'll do an event and someone will come over and just say something incredible. And that's when I'm like, oh God, like this is the thing. I think like, I don't know, you probably even feel it with the podcast of you do it and you put it out there and you don't really know, like a lot of people will have their lives changed by it, but will never tell you that. And so you don't always know the impact that you're making. So sometimes you're just sitting at home thinking like, oh, no one really cares about this. Like, and then you meet people and you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe that this has affected them in that way. So yeah, it's incredible. And I always feel like really grateful that I get to do something that like so many people will hopefully benefit from.
I'm sure there are loads of people out there that are benefiting from it. And yeah, they won't tell you. But that's not a bad thing because, you're probably saving lives with it. And that's obviously like here with the show as well. It's no one has to tell me what they've listened to and how things have changed them. But if it's changed someone through a dark space or given them that glimmer of hope or that tiny bit of light to just not give up, because I know what it's like to be down there, then that's my job done. And I'm sure that's kind of how you feel.
Yeah, definitely. I completely resonate with that. Like I'm not expecting anyone to come over and say like you did this, like, but it's so amazing when they do, because you're like, I think it just gives you a little push to keep going as well and be like, okay, this is doing something. So yeah, that it's great.
And it's, your story's proof. Your story is proof that you can go through what you've been through and you can decide to make a change and do it. Because I think a lot of people, they think they want to make a change, but there's so many reasons why they won't or they can't. And you're proof that you can.
Yeah. And I hope, because I think as well, like I remember someone came over to me and they were like, I remember thinking, like looking at your page, and you were by this point like 6 years sober, and thinking it was probably easy for her. And then she said, I saw some photos that you posted of you back when you were drinking. And she was like, I couldn't believe it. Because she was like, you just look like, life's all right now, it's fine. And she said, then because I'm always a bit like, oh, do I want to like post loads of pictures about like me when I was drinking? That feels really far removed. But she was like, I saw them, and when I saw them, she was like, oh my god, like if she can do it, looking like that was how drunk she used to get, I can do it too. So, I always try and like show people that side as well, because I think otherwise it's hard. I just look like, oh, I'm sober and it's all lovely, and that I'm nearly 9 years in now. I live a completely different life. It was different back then, so I always try and like go back to the beginning when I can, to show people like, yeah, this is the transformation.
Do you feel like they were two different people?
I do and I don't. Like, I do look back and think, oh my god, I can't believe I made those decisions back then. But I think probably everyone thinks that about their younger self and things that they did when they were young. I'm like, that's crazy. Even like outfit choices, I'm like, what were you thinking? I'll probably look back on this.
I look back on some of the outfits that like we would wear, like
Yeah.
when I was younger, and I look at some of the girls like of that age now, and I just think, wow, like fashion was so different. They would never wear those kind of clothes these days.
It is mad. Some of the things I think, God, why did I do that? But then I also think of it as me. Like, I don't ever want to separate that part of myself. Like, I think there is the kind of like urge to be like, I don't even know that person, that like start again, Millie 2.0, but I don't want to do that either. I think it's important to embrace that person as well, and I have so much compassion for that version of myself as well.
It's having the compassion for that person and your past self, or however you want to phrase it, and loving them, because they were going through what they were going through, and
Absolutely.
you know what, they were doing it with what they knew, is how I see it. It's when you look back in hindsight, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but at the time, in any decision or thing that you do in life, we do things from all we know. And I think when we look back, trying not to beat ourselves up about a decision or a regret or a text we send, because at that point, that's what we knew.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we went through that thing, even if we really don't want to remember it, we went through that thing, and we now know moving forward.
Yeah.
So then we have a choice moving forward what we want to do with it.
You don't make any mistakes. You've got nothing to learn from. You're just going to carry on doing stupid things.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you don't think anything's a mistake, then fair enough. Just keep going. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you just briefly mentioned the transition. Was it difficult for you?
Yeah, I think so, because you have a whole identity shift as well. Like, for me personally, and I think for a lot of people that maybe get sober, they are known as like the party one in the group, or the fun one, or the one that, keeps the night going. And it was such an integral part of who I was, that I then had to be like, oh my God, like, who am I now? And also, like, that was what I spent pretty much every weekend doing. And I was like, I don't know what to do for fun. I don't know what I like. Like, I remember one of my sober, like, nights out, we went to like this club, and I was like, I don't even know if I like clubbing anymore. Like, I don't know who I am. Like, you have kind of like an existential crisis in many ways, and then you're like learning all these. I say it's a bit like being like a newborn baby. Like, you're learning how to feel your emotions, how to talk to people in a new setting. Like, it's such a weird experience, and so yeah, I think it is a difficult transition, but it gets easier, and that is the hard thing, because I think early sobriety is like a bin fire, because it's just so many emotions, so many things that you're learning, and so many people are like, well, this is not for me, I'm gonna like duck out. But the longer you do it, the better it gets, and now it's just normal to me. Like, this is my normal life, and I don't really think much of it. But yeah, it's such a hard transition at the beginning.
I can relate in my own ways after what I went through with my accident. My accident was nearly 5 years ago. And, well, by the time this comes out, it would actually be of 5 years. It's the 23rd of August is the anniversary. But I say I'm 5 years into my new journey, because that's how I see it.
Yeah.
The accident, I was like a newborn after everything I've come through from the accident. Was like being born again.
Yeah.
And going through this transition and this change in my life. So in my own way, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so related. Like, I think the sobriety journey mirrors so many other journeys of probably all the getting back up journeys of just, starting again and learning things. And I think it makes you so, maybe resilient is not the right way. I don't know. I just feel like it's given me so much. I'd choose this journey every time and what I've gone through, because I think it's made me the person I am. And I'm so grateful to have been almost like jolted to be like, okay, this is like, 2.0, like, this is what you're going to do now. And so, yeah, I think in a way I kind of feel lucky, which is really weird.
It's probably shown you hobbies and places and people and things that you may never have
Absolutely.
met or done before.
Yeah, definitely. One of my absolute best friends I met on Instagram like a year into my sobriety journey, and he was also sober. And I'm like, I literally wouldn't have him in my life. We're like very best friends. If it wasn't for this thing, there's so many things I could probably say about that. And so yeah, it's hard because you're like, people are always like, would you, if you could go back again, would you like not drink when you were younger? And I'm like, oh, then I just wouldn't have this life. And so it's a really like difficult one. I don't know.
You wouldn't be able to know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there a moment or moments even during your journey where you thought, you know what, this is too hard, I might just turn back to drinking?
Probably. I went through a really awful heartbreak when I was like, how many years sober would I have been? Maybe like 4 or 5 years sober. And I hadn't been through a heartbreak up to that point. And oh God, I think heartbreak is the worst. Like it is just, it literally feels like your heart is breaking. Like it's a very apt name for it.
No, I think it genuinely is.
Yeah.
I'm not science here,
Yeah,
but I genuinely think there are
there's
things going on in
something
it.
And I found it really, really difficult. And I didn't eat for like 2 weeks. My friends came over and tried to force feed me chicken nuggets. And I just remember thinking at that time, if I'm going to go back, this is like going to be the time. But there was something in me that was like, because I got dumped, and I just thought I can't give them the satisfaction of going back to that life because of this thing. And that was the only thing that like kept me going. And I think as well, having Sober Girl Society, the accountability of that was great. And I feel really lucky that like it has kept me accountable. It's not that I feel a pressure to stay sober because I've built this thing, but it's still great for my accountability. And like, I'm really grateful to that. So I think all of that, the culmination stopped me going back. But I think that was a time when I was like, fuck, if I could have a drink now would probably be the time.
I got it exactly when you were like, I'm not giving them that credibility to, you know, for me to drink again. I'm not giving them that, especially if I've been dumped. Yeah, no, I got that. Don't worry.
I was like, yeah, we're not giving you the satisfaction.
Yeah, I'm not giving you that, so don't worry, I got that. But it's funny you say about accountability, and I think that can happen in so many different things in life, because I find it as well. If you tell someone you're going to do something or you're thinking about something, and it's like once someone else knows, you're being held to accountability for whatever that thing is, even if it's like, I'm going to write a paper, or I'm going to read this book, or I'm going to go to the gym. And then that friend can check in and go, hey, how's the gym? And well, you're not letting that person down, but you're being held accountable for just turn around and go, I didn't go, or I didn't write that thing, or I didn't do that thing. And I do that sometimes in my life. I know if I tell someone that thing I want to do, well, the only thing I'm going to come up with if I don't do it is an excuse.
Yeah.
So it gives me that drive to go, you know what, I told someone I'm going to do it, I may as well do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is, like they say in a lot of like sobriety circles, like when people talk about doing dry January, like join a group where you keep each other accountable, because I think it is so helpful just to have people to check in, you know, like not in a I'll shame you if you don't do it way, but just like a friendly reminder of like, go on, like you're doing it, I think is always really helpful.
Yeah. No, I have friends sometimes that like whatever it says, like I said, even if I go to the gym, I had it recently with somebody and I told her I was going to go to the gym, and then about an hour later she messaged me. She was like, "Are you there?" And I sent her pictures like, I am. I am. So,
that's what I need.
But even like when I sent the picture, I was proud because I was really tired that day, and I was proud at myself to be like, yeah, I made it.
Yeah. So. And that like dopamine hit that you get from like the reward as well will help you go forward, because that feeling becomes something really good to like look forward to. So that's like a great like way to change habit as well, is like those small little rewards as well.
It is. It's changing habits. You're right. And what do you then, I wouldn't say fall back on, but if there are situations in your life now, and like we said, some people would turn to drink, things that you just you get through the day or the night or the week, let's say, and to cope, what are the sort of things that you would do now?
At the beginning, which I'm not advocating for, I would end up going for like cigarettes or vapes, because I was like, for me, it was the lesser of two evils of like, these things don't change my behavior. And I think it's that case of like tackle the thing that is the most harmful, which for me was drinking, and then tackle all the other things. So I went for that first and then started pulling those things away. And I was like, right, now I'm not going to rely on that. Now I'm not going to rely on that. So over the years, it has been a constant battle of like, right, I'm relying on that thing too much. I'm going to stop doing that. Now I've got to a place where it is like reading binge TV and like lying in a dark room of like napping. It's sometimes like for me the best, because I used to drink to like blackout and switch off my brain. So now I'm like, I'm gonna go for a nap. I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna avoid life for like 2 hours. And that for me is like I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I feel much better now. So or I'm just like, right, I'm going to do some like mind-numbing binge TV for a bit, because I'm like, is this really the worst thing when I could be out drinking myself into oblivion? So sometimes I have a little habit shake-up and I'm right, go to the gym instead. And I do like the gym. I prefer like, I do yoga and like I like more chilled gym activities. And then there are times when I'm like, do you know what, like this isn't the worst thing I could be doing, so I'll fall back on sugar and junk food and things like that. But it's a constant evolving thing of I'm going to work on this and then that, like you say, new level, new devil, which is my new favourite thing.
You know, I like how you put it as well. It's you know, don't tackle everything. It's like, even if you make a list of things you need to do in a day, don't try everything at once. It's work through one thing after the next thing after the next thing, because we can get very overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Want to do everything right now today. Okay, well, then what happens is sometimes actually that paralyzes us with overwhelm. And it's like, oh no, I can't do anything. And that's, I find that so fascinating because I've been there. And then I end up doing nothing. And I have the longest list in the world and I'm doing none of it. Because I've got myself so overwhelmed. So then it's like, okay, but what's one thing I can tackle right now? And it's like you were saying, what's one thing I can deal with? What's one habit that I need to change? And one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And that's kind of how it flows.
I mean, we get people all the time that say like, oh, you know, I'm going to start my sobriety journey and I'm also going to do no sugar. I'm going to quit vaping. And I'm like, just like one thing at a time, do the worst thing, the thing that's harming you like most. And we get so many people saying, oh, I stopped drinking a week ago and the sugar cravings are out of control. And I'm like, give in to them. Give it like literally, because you know you're taking alcohol out of the equation and then there's so much sugar in that. So just have the extra donut. It's not going to kill you in the way that alcohol is like doing to you. That's how you feel. I'm not saying it kills everyone, but like start with that, and then donuts can be the next thing you tackle. Like don't, like you said, you just get so overwhelmed when you're like, I'm going to start this new journey of giving up everything. And it's so hard. Like one thing at a time is the way to go, I think.
No, I agree. What TV shows are you binging?
Oh, I literally, do you know what? Because the new series started today, when I had like an hour between podcasts, I sat and watched the new series of Love is Blind.
Nice.
Best. I love it so much. Any kind of like crap reality TV. Love it. But I do like some more highbrow things, but I'm also like, just put shit TV on. I'm like, I'm happy.
Fair enough. I've just finished the whole Yellowstone, all of it.
People keep saying I would love it, so maybe that is one.
It's a world, and once you start, it's unbelievable.
I could get his cowboys and stuff, isn't it?
I want to be a cowboy now. I want to own a ranch. I want to. That's like, also I was talking about the burlesque. Like my mind is all like there now. I'm like destined to be in Yellowstone on a ranch
you want
somewhere.
to be sitting in a saloon and like, I'm with you.
Exactly, learning how to ride a horse. I don't.
I'm actually allergic to horses, so that life is not for me. But I'd be really happy for you.
Thanks. I'll let you know when I do it.
Please do.
And then just before we wrap up, I want to ask you, I'm sure you obviously talk about this a lot, but for anybody that hasn't heard you before and is here today, if they are considering going sober, what is the first piece of advice you would give to them?
I would say get curious is the thing I normally say, of like, again, don't put the pressure on yourself of like, well, I have to go completely teetotal and it has to be forever. Like, listen to a podcast like this, read a book, learn a bit of information, dip your toe in, because I think it can be so scary for so many people that are like, well, if I embark on this journey, it's got to be forever and I've got to completely give it up tomorrow, and that's so intimidating for people. Whereas I think if you can like just, break up your social media feed with some like sober people, follow a sober celebrity, listen to a podcast, like just slowly start to absorb yourself in that world, I think it can be less scary. And I think start to understand why you drink. Think about your relationship. What pulls me to drinking? Is it because I need it for social situations? Is it because I'm feeling insecure? Can you start to maybe think about that thing? And I always say, if you tackle the reasons why you're drinking, it makes it so much easier to stop, because you can't change your relationship with alcohol unless you understand it in the first place. So yeah, I think don't feel like, oh my God, I've got to go sober tomorrow. Just really start to understand your relationship with alcohol, journal on it. I love a journal. Yeah, that would be my first piece of advice, I think.
And then how would you approach the subject whereby if you see someone you know has, or they're drinking a lot more, and they won't say they've got a drinking problem, but
Yeah.
from the outside you could maybe see it. How would you approach that to somebody that, again, they don't think they've got one, but as a friend or a loved one, you can see they do?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think the first thing I would say is you don't have to tackle it from the drinking perspective. If someone is drinking that much, there will probably be a reason. So you can come at it of like, is everything okay? I've noticed you're a bit down, or I've noticed you're not yourself. Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you're stressed about? Can I help with anything? You don't necessarily need to go straight in with the drinking. There will usually be a reason, maybe that they are drinking so heavily. So that would be the first thing. Just come at them from a concerned friend about whatever it is they're probably struggling with. And then I think the other thing is, if you really do want to address the drinking, some like charities give the advice of this thing called green light moments. So do it in a moment where you're having an open conversation. They seem receptive. Like, don't do it the next day when they're hungover and they're probably going to be defensive. Because I know that was the worst thing for me as well. Like, I would be so hungover and my mum would come over and be like, I think we need to talk about your drinking. I'm like, not now. I'm not talking about it. Like, don't have an issue, blah, blah, blah. I think when you're having an open conversation, like, go for a walk. How are you? How's work? How's this? By the way, I'm like when they seem open and receptive. So those are your like green light moments. And don't ever do it when someone is drinking, because like they're not going to hear it. It's likely there's going to be some sort of confrontation or defensiveness. Like, don't do it while they're doing the thing. So I think those are the things. There's also some like fantastic charities out there. So there's one called AdFam, which is for families who are worried about a loved one's drinking. And there's one called NACOA, which is if you are a child of an alcohol dependent parent. So even if you're an adult child, but if you're also like a younger child or a teenager, you can get support from there. And they will give you lots of advice of how you can tackle those situations or get support and help for a loved one.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to share today?
Oh, just thank you so much for having me. Like, honestly, it's such an honor to come and do podcasts like this and just get the word out to people. Like, someone might hear it, and you've given me the opportunity to do that. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And you know what? It's kind of what I do with the show is everyone's story is very different. You know, there'll be people sitting here and listening today that, you know, sobriety isn't something, you know, that they talk about, or for them, they may be going through something very different. But I find that, like, I can relate to you about a lot of things that we all, as human beings, relate to each other a lot more than we will ever realize.
Yeah, 100%. Like, there'll be so many parallels in both of our stories of like, even just that it will be okay, I think is a big thing. And like, things can get better. I think there's every story you probably speak to, there's an element of like hope. And I think that's the most important thing. Like that, yeah, if you want to make a change, you can, and things can get better.
Hope is a beautiful place. And
absolutely.
When you really think about it,
yeah,
hope is amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here today. Life will knock us down, sometimes hard and sometimes more than once. And when it feels impossible, know that your story isn't over yet. Sometimes when everything is falling apart, it's really falling into place. You have the power to rise, to heal, to make magic, and to evolve. And you have the power inside you. We all do. You have the power to get back up.